Game of Thrones is known for a lot of its characters dying off, but in the original story by George Martin, some of these guys are still kicking. Since the show is further along than the books, I'll only cover up until the end of Season 5. That's right about where the last book ended. And I know that the show and the books have become slightly different stories, but we're always going to keep comparing them. It's just good old fun. I'll limit the characters I talk about to the ones I think died too soon and hindered the story. First is Robb's wife. In the show, he marries Talisa, but in the books, it's a character named Jane Westerling. It seems like the writers made the change because Robb marrying for love makes for some beautiful TV moments, and also adds more emotion to the Red Wedding. Robb only married Jane Westerling because he slept with her and didn't want to dishonor her since she's of noble birth. Jane doesn't attend the Red Wedding, so she got spared and is still alive in the story. A lot of characters are worried that she is pregnant and her child will be the new heir to the North. Jojen Reed is also a character who is still alive. Instead of being killed by a White Walker, he makes it into the Three-Eyed Raven's cave. After spending some time in there, he has a green dream that makes him depressed. This might be a hint that he saw his own death in his dreams. The Three-Eyed Raven tells Bran in the show that he knew all along he was going to die on their journey, but it was always weird to me that it didn't seem to bother him. The book's route of making him mope around seems more realistic and adds some depth to his character. One huge change is Mance Rayder. Like on the TV show, Mance is sentenced to be burned alive on Stannis' orders, but in the books, Melisandre uses her glamoring magic on Rattleshirt to make him look like Mance. Rattleshirt was killed instead, and Mance is still alive. Why Melisandre would do this all behind Stannis' back is what makes this story change so interesting. Her interest in the Baratheon family and Jon Snow is because of their Targaryen blood being so powerful, so it'll be interesting to find out what's to come for Mance in the next books. This next one is probably the one where I truly feel was a huge mistake. That stupid moment where Doran Martell is murdered by Ellaria Sand. Doran and Oberyn were close brothers, so Ellaria killing him didn't add up. I love his character in the books. He has just as much hate for the Lannisters as the rest of his family, but knows to be patient is the best way to go. It sucks how quickly he was killed off, since he'll only be remembered as the boring weak guy that didn't do anything. His son Trystane was also killed in the show and not in the books, but very little has been written about him, so I don't blame the writers for doing that. Less characters to write for only simplifies their job, so they can focus on the established ones. This is probably why Rickon Stark was also taken out. Figuring out what to do with characters that don't have a clear end for their story adds to the hard job the writers have with working with an incomplete story from someone else's mind. In my opinion, the saddest death in the show happens to a character who is still safe and alive in the books. Shireen never went to war with Stannis in the North and instead stays with her mother at the Wall with the Night's Watch. Nothing worse than seeing a likable character screaming while being burned alive. Another sad moment was Sir Barristan's end. Instead of being murdered by the Sons of the Harpy and Meereen, he is the hand of the Queen while Daenerys flies off with Drogon, which means he was the man in charge in Meereen. Barristan was someone who knew Dany's family best, so it was pretty sad she lost her only connection. Hizdahr Zolarok is also still alive in the books, but who the hell cares about him? A character I'd rather talk about is Pyat Pree. In the show, Drogon burns the only warlock alive. In the books, she only burns down the House of Undying, and he then sails out with 3 other warlocks to get revenge on her. Euron Greyjoy captures them while they were out at sea, and they teach him their magic. Euron also kills one of them for threatening him, so there's a 25% chance he might also be dead in the books. Some of you book readers are probably wondering why I haven't mentioned 2 major characters in this video. Catelyn Stark dies in both stories during the Red Wedding, but in the books, she comes back to life, the same way Jon Snow returned. Instead, she's completely obsessed with revenge. I'm not sure if mentioning her fits this video, but I always love talking about Lady Stoneheart, which is her new name now. And the second character that I'm not too sure whether or not fits this topic is young Griff. In both the show and the books, Rhaegar Targaryen's infant son Aegon is killed during Robert's Rebellion. In the books, a character named Young Griff is claiming that he's actually Rhaegar's baby, and that the baby that was killed was a fake so he can escape to Essos. The problem with young Griff is it's too unclear whether or not he's actually Rhaegar's son Aegon. He has the features of a Targaryen, but it isn't too difficult to find that in Essos. So who knows, we'll have to wait and see who he truly is. And there you have it, characters who are dead in the show, but still alive in the books. Thank you guys for watching, for those who made it all the way to the end. If you haven't subscribed already, the red button is only a click away if you want to see more videos. There should be a link on your screen right now for my last video about the three-eyed raven and his interesting life. See you guys next week.